MInisodes.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm your host Ahmani Brown. I am once again here with a nice attack of the MInisodes. So, we're basically just going to be coming over some of the news that we were able to cover throughout the past, well, since the holiday season started. So, just going to do a quick rundown of some of the major things that came out this year that were, kind of, let's say, hectic. A lot of this news is genuinely kind of unfortunate, not good times. But obviously, there have been some nice things to be sprinkled in to be excited about for the gaming world. But as far as movies go, it's not the best news week for those things. I guess we'll just get started by giving you guys the bad news. First off, one of the things that actually came out over the holiday season was that Vin Diesel is currently being sued for their former assistant for basically committing, honestly, for lack of a better word, sexual assault. A lot of technically, we have to speak choicely around with YouTube, but I'm not really too worried about that because of the podcast. But yeah, basically a lot of the itinerary, the recollection of the events itself are kind of horrific in nature. It's just not a good time for Vin Diesel. And the moment this goes to court, it's not looking very good for him either. Basically, his former assistant back in 2010 was hired on essentially to be his plaything. She was supposed to be a proper assistant to his company and everything like that, but apparently was fired hours after the incident, which kind of makes her career kind of obvious why it started there in the first place. Something that is unfortunate. To those of you that might be wondering why she waited, it just seems like now is the right time. There's more of a precedent for people coming after people of sexual assault right now. There's kind of happens in waves, if anyone's noticed. So right now would be the best time for her to actually take advantage of this. But you're able to look up what her statements are and what her account of that night was, and genuinely, it's something that's kind of fucked. Well, not kind of. It's absolutely fucked. But it is basically sexual assault. I wouldn't go as far as saying. Actually, I kind of would go as far as saying that too. But yeah, it also technically classifies as rape for those that do not know. But besides that, I guess we can move on to. We're just gonna do all the bad news. Just get that out of the way right now, and then we'll just talk about the good stuff. So obviously, Kang, Jonathan Majors, everything in his situation has kind of been finalized. He is being charged guilty with, I think, assault. But there's a bunch of other charges that were technically dropped around him. But honestly, him being charged guilty of assault either way is the kind of nail in the coffin that they needed. He's no longer going to be doing anything involving studios. It is done. Essentially, it is dead in the water. King Dynasty, I think, as a movie is not happening, but there are talks about whether or not they're going to recast him or not. No one's made a final statement on the matter, from what I could tell. But for now, we know Jonathan Majors is out completely. That's unfortunate, but that situation is also weirdly. If anybody has been following the trial, they know that it's a gray area, to say the least. He deserves to to be sentenced for attacking someone, honestly, because it's still assault at the end of the day. But there's a lot of lying and abuse at play that kind of doesn't. It muddies the water in a way that's like there's no obvious, clear good guy, bad guy kind of in the situation. Much like the Amber Heard situation, kind of, but not nearly as vile as that relationship was. But basically, kind of the same kind of situation. Well, not the exact same, but similar situations going on there. The other thing we got, let's see. Oh, the Zatanna film that was in the works is officially dead at DC Studios, so we're not going to be getting that. I actually wanted to see that. That actually would be kind of nice to see. DC's kind of been doing some weird things with it. And I guess finally, in here we have Sony is basically, this is just nowhere near as bad as the other ones, thank goodness, but like Sony is releasing 2 movies that, well, Sony's releasing 3 Spider-Man movies, but not Spider-Man, right? Obviously we know this. We know about Venom. We know about who else? We know about Venom. We know about I almost got killed. We know about Kraven, and we know about Madam Web. Unfortunately for them, completely, it basically looks like 2 of those movies, i.e. Madam Web and obviously Kraven, aren't even charting on any charts for most anticipated anything. And I'm looking at that going like, dag, that is honestly not to my surprise. But no one is excited for these movies. They're not charting on any list of movies that are most anticipated. Or official list. Which is crazy to think about, because it's like, yeah, no, you have to be you have to try not to be listed somewhere on most anticipated. There's not that, well, there's technically a lot of movies coming out. There's not that many that it would kick you completely out of. I think some of these lists go on to like 50. So I'm like, dang, that's unfortunate. Not even in the top 50 movies. But that's what happens when you make soulless products that aren't really good at adapting a source material that people are actually really interested in. Not that you can't do original things. Don't get me wrong on that. Original things are all well and dandy. They're great, but you're dealing with characters and a culture, a fan base that really loves proper adaptations of things. They like to see the things that they used to read and watch on the big screen, essentially, done in a way that can only be done in a cinematic fashion, in a live action cinematic fashion. And when you decide to deviate from that heavily, not even like not in a very good or creative way either, people do not be excited for it. Madam Web out of the 2 is more interesting to me personally, but ultimately I think it's kind of the plot. What I know about the plot, I should say, isn't exactly the best idea considering the characters it play, but we'll let it be. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if it works. Best way I can describe it. Because Venom came out and people were like kind of excited and then kind of not at the same time. Because how do you do Venom without Spider-Man? It didn't do bad. It didn't do bad. So I'll allow it. I guess best way I can describe it. Allow it to do its own thing and flourish and see what happens with that. Now we can get into the good news. So, off rip, Angerfoot got another trailer, another spotlight trailer for the holidays. Just letting us know that's still coming. Can't wait for that to come out. For those that don't know, Angerfoot is just first-person Hotline Miami. Yeah, no, that's the best way to describe that. Just first-person Hotline Miami. If you're interested in that, just you should be happy. I actually forgot one bit of bad news because it just didn't have a good place in between the 2 things that were actually happening. So the day before servers are officially shutting down. They're no longer. That's something that again happened over the holidays. They're done. Essentially, we're not gonna have to worry about that anymore. For those that don't know, basically the day before was a giant scam. It was a Kickstarter project by I can't remember the studio's name. But essentially, they had a bunch of fake gameplay footage for a while. People kept saying that it's not real. Like, there were people saying that it's not real footage, so we went into it. Game came out. It's kind of buggy. It's alright. It's actually the middest thing in the world. Like, it's actually completely super unremarkable and a little not finished. The company disappears the day afterwards, changing their name and removing themselves from the project entirely. And now, 45 days later, it is completely shut down. So that's it's an interesting story about the day before. We will. Oh, that's gonna go out in history books. I'm not even front. I'm just like, wow, what a way to screw them over. We've talked about the story before, so I know that we've mentioned what their new company name is. So I'll leave that for you guys to find, so you can try to avoid them in the future. But I just currently at the moment, I just don't remember that name. What else we got? We have another good news thing. Oh, right. So Granblue Fantasy versus Rising, the better version of Granblue Fantasy versus, is coming out with a new character, and apparently I'm a main in that game now. 2B is making her official crossover into Granblue Fantasy versus. And I can't wait to play her. She looks good. She actually reminds me a lot of what she was doing in Soul Calibur. She actually looks like she's doing a lot of that, though this time in more of a 2D plane, honestly. And she looks good. I'm amazed that Nier Automata is still doing crossovers, as much as it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm an absolute simp for 2B. It makes me think that something's coming, and I know nothing is coming. I know they're not doing anything else with this property, but I'm happy to see that it's here, and I can't wait to play it. She apparently is dropping this February, late February it seems, and with that, I'm like, yeah, nah, man, I'll pick up Granblue Fantasy versus. I actually played the original one a little bit. It wasn't too bad. I couldn't get grasp on the combo system exactly, but it seems to be more like corner-based in nature to get like the really cool, crazy stuff that you want to do. And then, like, obviously playing a more neutral game when you're in the center screen, which obviously makes sense, but it's not doing Marvel or Dragon Ball stuff where you're carrying people to certain locations unless the carrier is built into that character. Kind of fascinating. Good gameplay. I'm looking forward to testing out some of the stuff in Rising when I get the chance, because obviously Rising is out now. You can play it if you want, but if you want to play 2B, she'll be coming later in February. So be happy with that. Let's see what else we got on here. I know we talked about it when it was announced on the Game Awards, but I don't think we ever officially talked about it in the podcast, which is that Sega's remaking 5 games. They released a trailer at the Game Awards, basically just being like, hey, look, these are all the ones that we're making. Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, I'm trying to remember what else. Golden Axe was another one. And Streets of Rage was another one that was like, okay, we're getting some fun stuff. Can't wait for those to come out. Can't wait to get the chance to play them. Super happy that Sega's doing this. Jet Set Radio is a little late, but I'll take late. Better than never. Because I already got to play basically my Jet Set Radio 3, so I'll take a new Jet Set Radio 3. Why not? Bomber Cyberpunk was awesome. Can't wait to see what they decide to do with this new Jet Set Radio. Same thing with Crazy Taxi. I love playing Crazy Taxi, and I grew up. It was just fun. Can't wait to test that one out. I'm really looking forward to what Streets of Rage looks like now, actually. Both the Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. I'm very curious on how those are gonna feel. Because Streets of Rage is full on 3D, kind of almost Power Stone-esque feel going on. I'm kind of down with maybe a bit more zoomed in camera. I'm kind of down for that because something about it is just kind of cool as a beat 'em up. Golden Axe also seems to be doing the more not over the shoulder, but behind the back action game kind of deal going on, and I'm like, that's gonna be fun. Hopefully, so we'll see how that plays out. Good on Sega. Good on Sega for doing something cool. Gotta mention the Arcane teaser that we got. I'm trying to see, basically Arcane Season 2 is on its way. I want to see if the teaser gives us a date. I don't think it does. Nah. Teaser just lets us know it's happening. And you know what? I'm okay with that. But we basically got a nice little preview of Warwick. And at least the less said, the better. Basically, we know that Season 2 is coming and Warwick is going to be heavily involved. So, prepare yourselves for that. I know some people wanted to definitely leave Piltover, but I don't know, there's just too many loose ends to tie up here before we can go to other places that exist in this universe. Let's see. Oh, definitely want to mention this, and I think this will be the last thing we mention before going any further. I mean, I'll have the docket in the description for any other things that you guys might want to check out or take a little look-sees at. Oh, there's another thing actually, so maybe it won't be the last thing. But so Penny's big breakaway is from the creators of Sonic Mania, and it's a 3D platformer that uses momentum in the same fashion. So, if you played Sonic Mania and you liked Christian Whitehead, personally, I'm gonna pick this up. This looks really cool, to me at least. I like the idea of it. Penny is like a little robot, I think, if I remember correctly. It's like this little robot clown thing going around doing fun stuff. The game looks fun. And honestly, with the way you can actually kind of tell it was made by Christian Whitehead, because they keep the same kind of color scheme as Sonic Mania. Not in the design of the characters, but more so the world. Christian Whitehead had a lot of I want to say heavy saturated colors going on with their world. A lot of deep blues and not like a neon green, but bluish greens going on. There was a bluish hue over a lot of the stuff in Sonic Mania with some of the world and stuff like that, and in a good way. It's bluish, like a blue hue in a very cool artistic style way. But you could see it just in the designs of everything and how everything looks, and it's just this is gonna be fun, and I hope that it becomes one of those things that people just gravitate towards and want to play, because I think this is an awesome idea, especially for it to be their own property. It's not directly tied to Sonic in this case, which means that they can do whatever they want, which means that they can go ham with whatever type of mechanics and things like that they want to do. It looks like a good time. The other thing that has to be mentioned that I don't know if we covered because it's been a minute. Yeah, so I don't know, I think we covered it. I don't know why this is on here, man. But I'll mention it just again for those that might not have known. Basically, One Piece is getting a remake of the East Blue Saga. By Studio Wit, the original Attack on Titan and Vinland Saga studio, which that's some good people. That's some good people right there. Is what I will say to that. They're gonna put in work. But I think with that is the end of everything you need to mention on the docket so far. I mean, obviously there's some stuff that's in the Sum Zero. There's Nova Hearts that exists. Some things like that would, I think, Escape from Tarkov is getting an update. But personally, I'm not very well versed in those, so I'm not the best person to talk about them. I was Final Fantasy also getting its thing, so that would be fairly on. Talk about that one. Everything else I think is good. Basically, I'll just let you guys know that we'll see how things go, but we're trying to do some changes to the podcast and essentially kind of break up the news into its own thing. I know we've mentioned it before in trying to do this, But I really want to try to kind of get it at the gate this time around. We're going to be doing some changes around here. This is part of the content bomb that we were talking about before. There's still some other things I wanted to get out this week that you guys can check out and actually be part of. This one will probably be dropping later in the day just because of the nature and when I have to do it. But for the most part, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for supporting us when it hits February, around February 20th, I believe it is, that'll be our first again, another anniversary hit. We'll be going on 4 years since this started, and that's kind of crazy to me that we've gone on for this long, and I appreciate you guys' support so far through all of this. It's been crazy, and I want to start pushing the podcast, the channels, things like that into a different direction. That's not bad. That's not bad. In a different direction that's more creative. So obviously still gonna get your conversations that we're having with you guys. Still gonna get that. Still gonna get the news feed, things of that nature. But trying to just try something new to help us grow, to help you guys maybe enjoy the experience a little bit more, taking some feedback from people, just doing some things to try to kind of not change what we do, but change how we do it. Is the best way I can describe it. But thank you guys for supporting us as always. Please, if you would like, go join us on Twitch whenever we stream. We're usually on Sunday mornings for Coffee and Gaming around 11 Eastern Standard Time. It's around that time, so give it from 11 to 12, depending on technical difficulties. But around is go support us there. Go ahead and stuff on our Patreon. Follow us on Twitter and Threads, or both, whichever one. I said "and," so I guess it doesn't apply that you can follow us on that. And obviously, just subscribe to the podcast, spread the love, tell people about the shows, especially since we're going to be doing some more things, trying to mix it up a little bit. We got some stuff coming down the pipeline for you guys, and we really hope you guys enjoy it. But until then, guys, have a good one. Be safe out there. The world's getting kind of crazy, and even though we've started a new year, it's supposed to be a fresh start. It started with some kind of crazy stuff so far, so just take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Be prepared for anything that happens. And I'm not meaning grain of salt about us, but just in general. Think critically and try to just live the best life you can. Peace. MInisodes.